live, and I'm Moshe, coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And today is, let me get this. Oh, getting me nuts here. Okay, today is Tuesday, what is it? The 23rd of September, and it's about 8:15 in the morning. Is that right? Yeah. 8:16 actually, and the news, of course, is quite active again. But I titled this like the days of Noah and Sodom. I'm going to show you what's going on. I've got a lot of data on fires and drought. Now we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about many things. What the UN is doing. Crazy. Monaco, a micronation that you never hear from, decided to step out and recognize the Palestinian state. Is that a coincidence, or is that a result of our spiritual warfare? Obviously, a result of our spiritual warfare. You never hear anything like that politically controversial come out of that crackpot place. Yay! Down it goes. Okay, we'll do more spiritual warfare on them. Okay? And we'll go through current events. America's very active in the skies around Venezuela. And they did send another ship to the Caribbean area, another destroyer. So they got 8 surface ships plus 1 submarine. They picked up 1, I believe, because they had 8 with the submarine. Now it's 8 plus the submarine, although they don't officially state that the submarine is there. It's normally always going to be around something like this. And, they want that sub there to make sure that if any other ships come around and threaten the American fleet there, the sub could take it out. That's one thing. The sub could probably launch missiles from beneath the surface. That's another thing. And I think that's just really how they do it. The sub might actually be more effective in detecting an enemy submarine coming to hurt the fleet. It may have better detection capability than the surface ships, although I don't know. It could, because it's under the water, as is the enemy submarine. But anyway, on that submarine warfare, I'm not an expert. I don't know. Okay. So what's going on today? Well, plenty. Plenty of news. So, okay, let me jump into the live stream and make sure gold and silver are also ratcheting up again. It's amazing. See, there's a lot of people, and I'm not so sure they're wrong. I'm almost starting to say they're right, not all the time, but frequently. That when you see this stuff go up, the gold and the silver, you're going to see trouble in the world. Now, I don't think the Venezuela thing is bringing the gold and silver up, but I could be wrong. I don't think so. I think it's the recognizing the Palestinian state, what Israel's doing, Trump and Putin not getting along, the drones in Poland. Oh, by the way, Poland at the UN, I think it was the UN Security Council meeting, or I think that's what it was. Poland officially gave Russia a warning. Right there. If the drones in the aircraft are coming into Polish airspace, they're going to get shot down. And then the Polish guy said, don't come over here and complain because we're warning you now. That's a war drum. Because if Putin abides by that warning, then he's showing fear and weakness, right? So if Putin proceeds and continues to harass them with drones and aircraft flyovers, what that does is potentially he's going to lose equipment, and then he loses face more so, and it could trigger a war. Now, Putin might be thinking of starting a limited war. This is a dangerous game. And Trump has enough brains to maybe see through this. Start the war like India and Pakistan, right? And then everybody's going to come running to Putin and Poland, and, let's try to settle it, let's try to calm down, And then Putin says, oh, okay, we'll talk, where do you want to meet? And then they go to Zurich or someplace, and they sit down, and Putin tries to cut himself a better deal with Ukraine using the fear of a world war to do it. Now, this would be a clever strategy for Putin. And it's not, I'm not the only one in the world that understands this, believe me. But it's a dangerous one. Because when you start a war, you don't know what's going to happen. Especially when you're not in communication with your demons as per normal. Ha ha ha. All right, into the live stream. And we plan on destroying more works of the devil today. He's worthy of being destroyed. He's such a jerk. If the idiot had a brain, and we plan on, it would be better. The problem with this idiot is he believes his own lies. You run around telling the lies over and over and over and over and over, and then he starts believing his own lies. That's the problem with this numbskull, the devil. I never thought I looked like Robert De Niro. Am I ready for rapture? Well, you should read John 6, verses 39, verse 40, verse 44, and 44. Because in those 4 scriptures, Yeshua directly said, all the believers go up at the same day. And that day, Yeshua said, is the last day, which means there's no more days. So I don't expect the rapture till after the millennium is over and then some, because that's what Yeshua told us. Someone asked drones. There were some drones, I think, in other countries now too. I saw. Well, let's see. Were there drones? And I could take a quick. Hold on. Let's take it. It was another country, and I think it was Denmark. I didn't take note of it, though. Russia deployed drones into Denmark airspace recently. Might have been the Netherlands, guys. Yeah, they did. There have been recent reports of drones entering Danish airspace, widely attributed to Russia, and escalating tensions from the Ukraine war. On September 22, Danish police reported sightings of 2 to 3 large unidentified drones near Copenhagen airport, leading to a temporary closure of the facility for nearly 4 hours. They don't want to have planes taking off and landing with drones in the air. Okay, it was Denmark. I, some reason, thought it was Netherlands, but I was flying through the news this morning. Yes, okay, that is, I think I did put that up on my Telegram, by the way. Yes, it did happen. You are correctamundo. I'm doing good today. Okay, wow, we don't have many people coming in today. That's to be expected. They don't want to hear the Bible. They go to the Church of the Ostrich. They stick their head in the ground and they think everything's gonna be okay. The Church of the Ostrich is all the churches. Okay, let me put my post up. Just to tell you guys, if you love the churches and you love their doctrines and their teachings, and if someone comes forward with the Bible and shows you plain as day in the Bible that the Bible, using the King James, and the Hebrew for the Old Testament, contradicts what the churches are teaching you, and then you get mad and reject the people illuminating you using the scriptures, you'll hate me. But you're not really rejecting me, you'd be rejecting the scriptures. And Yeshua said, if you reject knowledge, I will reject you. And when you start with this pre-trib rapture crap, which is completely unbiblical, you're spreading a false doctrine. And if you really want to go spreading false doctrine, this is the wrong place to do it. Just because you don't know it's false doctrine doesn't mean it's not false doctrine. If you don't know, it means you don't know enough about the Bible. You shouldn't be running around teaching. Okay, you know, if you were going to write a book or do a speech, would you say something like awaiting his return, or would you say something like awaiting Yeshua's return? See, why do they say he? Whose return are they really waiting for? Satan. See, but they hoodwink the people. The people don't think that way. They don't wake up. It's like the days of Noah. We'll go through that. Okay, so looks like we're good. Let me do some praise, being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament. You know, before I start, I want to tell you, you know, I pick up a lot of new people. They come in and they subscribe. So maybe, let's say, for me, 10 new subscriptions takes a long time, days, right? So I get 10 new subscribers, and within a week after that, at least half of them go away. At least. Okay? Because they will not take a posture against the church. Because they're the tares that grow up with the wheat, and they look like the wheat. They look like real believers. They sort of, in a way, overtly act like real believers, but they're not. And they don't really act like real believers. They're just making outward show. Like Yeshua said, the outside of the cup is clean, but inside is black. Okay, they're children of the devil, right out of Matthew 13. But they don't know it. That's why they reject the true gospel, and they love the Schofield and the Darby and the teachings of the churches because they're of the devil and they like their father's doctrine. It's a very hard concept for people to grasp, okay? Because they follow the church doctrines, which are peace, love, joy, stuff like that. Okay, praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 So let's start with some of the news and we'll develop from there. We have a single prayer request today for Echo Charlie EC. Echo Charlie EC. Prayer request is healing for a mass in the brain. That's some sort of growth or something. So EC Echo Charlie, healing for a mass in the brain. So I'll pray and you guys can agree. How's that? Make it more powerful. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for EC for healing for a mass in the brain. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you all can agree. If you're a true believer. If you're not a true believer, it's not going to amount to much. If you agree or don't agree. Okay. Now, this is a good one. The United States is considering, and they'll probably do it, imposing sanctions as soon as this week. Again, this is yesterday's news. Today's Tuesday, it's Monday news. Against the entire International Criminal Court, putting the court's day-to-day operations in jeopardy. And the reason is this: for investigating of suspected war crimes with Israel. Now, what they could do, and they know who the court clerks are, who I don't think they're going to go after the building janitor. The clerks of the courts, of the judges, the people that work the machines, that do the typed out text of what went on, court reporters, any investigators that the courts have. The sanctions will freeze their bank accounts, and the court is not going to have any great way to pay them. What the court would likely do is go back to the way people got paid even in the early 1970s. You got an envelope with your money in it. Or the court that the criminal court has, the bank, they would issue a draft or a check from the bank, and you would have a special card. This is what they used to do for check cashing, or you could use your driver's license or something. And you would go to the bank. You really needed the check cashing card and the check, I think. And you go there and say, I'd like to cash this check, and they would cash the check for you. Right? Okay, this is what they did at the this is what they used to do. So they could do that, or just give them probably they wouldn't want to implicate the bank. The bank might get in trouble. I guess they would have to just draw cash and give them an envelope with cash in it. So I don't know. The International Court wouldn't listen to the sanctions. And if they did that, they might be able to freeze the account of the International Court with the bank. Yes, they probably could. So, do I think the bank is going to listen to Trump? No. 5% chance. No, it's just going to keep going. Okay, Trump is, the way he makes war is sanctions and tariffs. But there could be a difference in Venezuela. We'll cover that in a few moments. Okay. Hamas writes a letter to Trump right now, or yesterday, or last night. Last night, I think it was in the hands of the Qatar people. They're asking for a 60-day ceasefire in exchange for half the hostages, and they want Trump's personal guarantee on this. And they want, I don't know about how many terrorist prisoners they want exchanged back for half the hostages, perhaps none, I don't know. They're getting desperate. Armed vehicles like armored Humvees, personnel carriers, and of course tanks and mobile artillery. Mobile artillery is a tank-looking thing with a big artillery piece, bigger than a regular tank. Okay, so they're running around deep inside Gaza City, and it's getting more and more of the Gazans scared and they want to get out of there. Now, about 500,000, we're getting all kinds of figures, 480,000, 600,000, 500,000, probably about 500,000, give or take, left Gaza. Now, it costs them a lot of money to leave Gaza, so, relatively speaking, so a lot of them are not leaving. They got a house, they don't want to live in a tent, you got to buy the tent, apparently all kinds of nonsense going on. So, but I think seeing the tanks rolling around in their inner neighborhoods got them pretty rattled. So I think you'll see more go, but I don't know how many. What do I think Trump's going to do about this ceasefire? Trump repeatedly said, all the hostages, and you hit the road, Toad, get out of town. So what they're trying to do, I'll lay it out for you. Yesterday, several nations, notably Malta, which isn't so notable, and no, not Malta, it was Portugal, that was it. UK, Australia, and Canada recognize the Palestinian state, and there's going to be about another 5 or 6 today. So, like probably Malta or Andorra, little countries, right? Okay, so they're going to recognize the Palestinian state, and Monaco surprisingly did. So now Monaco is a highly prejudicial country. It's the land of the Satan bot. They, if you look at videos of Monaco, you don't see black people, you don't see Latino people, you don't see Arabs or Muslims. And I believe, I'm rather certain, there's no mosque in Monaco, but there is a synagogue and churches. So they're just responding to our spiritual warfare, that's all. And, they're fighting in the flesh, but we fight in the spirit. And when you do that, you're always going to win. Unless you're doing something really idiotic, which we're not. We're destroying the works of the devil. So Trump's knee-jerk reaction is going to be his first response, and Hamas knows this, is going to be all the hostages and you leave town. I don't know what will happen when Trump tells them that. I really don't know. They're not going to agree to it, I don't believe. They'll probably try to tell Trump the blood of the hostages is on his hands or his head. We'll watch and see. But will Trump accept this offer of theirs? Not a chance. I mean, he's weak. Trump is weak. He might be weak enough to do this. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Never say never. But I mean, he's weak. So maybe he will, but I don't think so. And he's going to call Netanyahu up, and Netanyahu's going to say, no way. Now, could this cause a rip between Netanyahu and Trump? It could. And sooner or later, there's going to be a rip. America turns against us. Okay, now some other interesting news. The July 4th wildfire in the Grand Canyon is still burning. Now, we're on September 23, July 4th, August 4th. It's almost 3 months. Interesting, isn't it? The Bear Gulch fire grows to over 19,000 acres. That's somewhere around Seattle, Washington. Somewhere up there. I don't know exactly where. It's in the state of Washington. Now, I'm going to read you research data about drought. And then we're going to cover the scriptures on fire destroying America, not as a warning sign, not as a birth pang that is coming, but the actual destruction of the daughter of Babylon, America. It's actually started. You have to understand this. And drought. We're going to go through it, but here we go. 49 U.S. states. How many are there? There's 50. 49 U.S. states are currently experiencing drought, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor map. U.S. Drought Monitor map, released on September 18th. So that's 5 days ago. I would say that's current. This counts states with any area of moderate drought or higher than moderate. They have moderate drought, then you've got intensity level go up, you have exceptional drought, and they have numbers for it. We don't need to deal with them numbers. One, the exceptional is D4, and then they have, D1, and stuff like that. Okay. Including abnormally dry, that's considered, I think, D0 or DO or something. Conditions. The only state without such drought is Florida. Well, they got swamps there, lakes that are fed from the ocean, brackish water, all kinds of stuff going on. Beaches. Florida is tremendously surrounded by oceans. Not 100%. If it was, it would be an island. This widespread coverage aligns with the 40.81% of the contiguous U.S. in drought. Now, contiguous means the lower 48, okay? So the percentage is about 41% of America. Now remember, if God all of a sudden set 1,100 fires and had exceptionally dry, extreme drought in every country, people would be dying like flies. This is not how the people get killed, and a lot of the people have yet to leave. But this is not a birth pang. Don't think it's a birth pang. This is some of the ways America's going to be destroyed, and they're in play. If we had 98% of America on fire, everybody'd be dead already, wouldn't they? What are you going to do? Be jumping up and down until you burn up? Come on. I gotta rattle your cage like that, okay? So 40.8% of the U.S. is in drought. Now, states with serious drought, severe drought or worse, that's D2 to D4, are 27. That's slightly over half the states in America are in serious drought. Wake up. These include areas with significant impacts on water supplies. Wait till I read you the scriptures. Serious impact on water supplies. That's the water source. They're not talking about bottles of Evian water, okay? What's Trump going to do to counter the drought? Order 47 million bottles of Evian or something? What's he going to do? So you got, I'm going to read you a list of the states. This is maybe not a conclusive list. It doesn't include all of them. So it's talking about these are states that are having a serious impact on water supplies, agriculture, and their ecosystems. Okay, so the D3 states, which is exceptional, this is very bad, okay, are Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, Arkansas. So at least 9 states with D3. Additional states with D2, Ohio, which is still not good at all, it's serious, are Illinois, Indiana, Colorado, Wyoming, Arizona, New Mexico, Hawaii, that's one of the 2 states not contiguous, and others in the Midwest, South, and West. Expansions in the lower Mississippi Valley and Tennessee Valley. States with moderate drought, a D1, but no higher intensity are 22 states. And some of these states are Georgia, Virginia, Michigan, Oklahoma, parts of the Northeast and Southeast, like New York and Massachusetts. And okay, so I understand New York City's worrying about water now. Now, let's talk about states experiencing wildfires right now. 10 U.S. states experiencing active wildfires, according to the National Interagency Fire Center, NIFC, report as of September 22. That's yesterday. The count is based on states with reported large fires, 100 plus acres, which are tracked nationally for their significant impact on resources and communities. The affected states are Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. These 34 large fires have collectively burned approximately 434,000 acres, with the majority in the northwest region, while smaller fires have may exist in additional states. NIFC primary tracking focuses on large incidents. Okay, so the fires are, you can see, very bad. Okay? Now, the people are not waking up because they're not supposed to. This is supposed to be like the days of Noah. And what happened with the days of Noah? Well, Noah was preaching that there would be a flood. They ignored him. Noah built the ark for all to see. They ignored him. And then he got the animals and he was getting ready to go. And then the Lord got him in the ark and shut the door, and it started raining. When it started raining, they started, at some point, they probably believed it. They didn't know what rain was. Rain didn't happen. Okay? It was the dew at night. The dew would collect on the plants and then probably drip off into the soil, however it worked. And they'd wake up in the morning and things would kind of dry up with the sun, because you didn't have rain, so you probably didn't have cloudy days. And the plants were fine. And then it rained, as Noah said. But you see, they're going to wake up when it's too late, and they're going to die. Sodom and Gomorrah, they didn't want to repent or listen or anything like that. And as soon as Lot and his family got out of Sodom, oh, the schmuck next door is at it again. As soon as they got out of Sodom, the fire and brimstone came down and killed them. So, as soon as Noah got in the ark, getting, the safety, the flood came and killed them. But the righteous were saved. So the daughter of Babylon, America, is not going to be destroyed completely until the true believers get out. And I'm not talking about the people in the churches that run around, all you got to do is know who Yeshua is and you're going to be saved. And they run around, oh, the Lord is dead. And oh, we're going to have the pre-trib rapture and blah, 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 blah. And we move the Sabbath to Sunday. The fact that the Sabbath is a day of rest in the Ten Commandments and in Moses' law regarding resting, because that's the day Jehovah rested when he created the creation, and you can't change that day, so you obviously can't change the Sabbath. Yet they do, because they don't care about the Bible. And I tell them that like I am here. And do they listen? No, they reject me, but they're not rejecting me. They say they are. They're rejecting the Bible. The church world is not biblical. It's not. They say the law is dead. What did Paul say? Without the law, there'd be no sin. So does that sound like Satan? Oh, if there's no law, there's no sin. Do what you want. That's how his people behave. They think they got an exemption from sin. They don't. There is no sin exemption. So they're not going to wake up. They're going to be buying and selling and building houses and giving in marriage and merging companies and buying stock and saving money and, until they're dead. What's going on next door with the house is he's getting the house ready for some good believers to move in. That's what's going on. The guy actually working on the house might be a true believer. I think he is. I had some dialogue with the guy. And he has a pretty good grasp of prophecy, from what I could tell. But I think he hangs around Messianic congregations, which is a negative. I don't know why. I don't know. The grinding he's doing is actually taking place inside the house. I don't know what he's doing. I think he's probably grinding the floor. No, the floors wouldn't be wood. What the heck would he be doing? There's some sort of grinding instrument in the house. He could be cutting the tile out to replace it. I don't know what he's doing. If I talk to him, he'll talk to me, but I don't know. No idea. Curious, what would he do? Grinding. I don't know. So when you see all of America burning, it's over already, right? But we know they're going to loot, plunder, and pillage and kill the Americans and stuff like that. So it can't all be burning now. He's mostly burning the countryside, and that there's nobody really living there and there's nothing to loot. But it ruins the ecosystem. And the air quality is very bad. Now, let's go through some scriptures. Jeremiah 50, verse 32. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle, this is Jehovah, I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all around about him. We're not getting much in the cities yet. Some cities are getting them, but not much. LA got hit on the outskirts and stuff, you know. Beverly Hills almost got it a few months ago. I was wondering when they were going to get it. Let's go to Jeremiah 51:25. This guy's going to be grinding all day. Making a house for some nice believers to live in. Two-thirds are going to get cut off, kids. There's going to be a lot of houses. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith Jehovah, which destroyeth all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. Well, the way you get a burnt mountain is by having fires on the mountain. That is not rocket science. Mountain means a big, powerful country. Okay, Jeremiah 51, verse 30. The mighty men of Babel have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. They have burned their dwelling places. Now let's check the words in the text in the Hebrew to see what's really being said. They're using three words. They have burned. Can I what?
I believe this elitist is really making noise today working in my house.
Why are you talking about the landlord?
No, I said this guy next door, the elitist, is over there working.
What is he doing with the grinder? I can't figure it out.
He's in the house, you can't see, the dust is flying. This is Rosh Hashanah.
What would he, I know, he's a lousy guy. What would you grind in the house? I have no idea.
Oh no, I don't know.
I don't either. I don't know what he's doing. She said this is Rosh Hashanah. We don't observe Rosh Hashanah, but the people do, and he's disturbing everybody. Okay, the word is one word, and it's yitzat, which means to kindle, burn, set on fire. Let me check with Strong's. I'm pretty sure. Burn up. Okay, so there's a twist in the translation. It says they. They became as what they have burned her dwelling. It doesn't say that. It said the basically burned up the dwelling places. So it could be God that did it. They're making it out like it's a they that did it, and it's not in the text. It's lying. Okay? Jeremiah 51:58. Thus saith Jehovah of armies, the broad walls of Babel shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burned with fire. And the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. Now, the people that are near the fires are weary now, evacuations and stuff like that, the firemen, all of that. Now we go to Jeremiah 50, verse 38. It's not just a verse. A drought is upon her waters. That's in play now, kids. They shall be dried up, for it is the land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. That's the case. And the next verse is Jeremiah 51. $36. And I gotta find 36. Therefore, thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will plead thy cause and take vengeance for thee. This is speaking about Israel, taking vengeance for Israel. And I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. Well, that's how you get drought. The sea could be a lake. I don't believe it's the Atlantic Pacific Ocean or the Gulf of America. Formerly called the Gulf of Mexico. I don't believe it's that. So, it's like the days of Noah, guys, and Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, Trump knows all this with the fires and the drought. They just won't say anything because they can't do much about it. Trump doesn't want to talk about the fires because he doesn't want to allocate money to give relief to the people that are victims of the fire. Trump hates helping the poor. Notice how quietly he decided to go pursue the student loan people, right? In a lousy economy. They're basically taking 15% of their paychecks and a lousy economy. But Trump probably believes his own lies and thinks the economy's good, which it's anything but good. Okay, now we're going to talk about the Venezuela situation now. Gosh, this thing won't stay still. Come on, you. The USS Stockdale destroyer was the additional ship sent to the Caribbean. Venezuela's in the Caribbean. It's a surface warship as part of their buildup in the area around Venezuela. Okay, in addition to the 3 guided missile destroyers there, this is Trump's flotilla down there, the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group, which is the USS Iwo Jima, the USS Fort Lauderdale, and the USS San Antonio. Guided missile cruiser USS Lake Erie, and littoral combat ship USS Minneapolis, and then it says are also operating in the Caribbean. Previous reports also said there was at least 1 nuclear submarine in the region. I would say at least 1. Now it could even be 2. Iwo Jima was near someplace in Puerto Rico, conducting exercises on Thursday, according to the fleet tracker. Now, this is what's going on. Aerial tankers, KC-46, I think, or 46 Pegasus, multiple tankers observed flying with transponders off stealth mode, a tactic to avoid detection, likely refueling fighter jets such as F-35s deployed to Puerto Rico. This was reported in the past 12 hours, well, maybe we should say 16, 18 hours now. To avoid detection, likely, before September 22nd evening, extending into the 24-hour window. That was my window. Okay. AWAC E-3 Sentry airborne early warning and control systems for radar surveillance entering the U.S. Southern Command near Venezuela. Electronic reconnaissance, these would be various planes. They're focused on signals intelligence, gathering, indicating, targeting, monitoring, blah, blah, blah. Other assets, defenses, more MQ-9A Reaper drones, and the F-35s. Were armed with Sidewinder missiles. Yeah.
I think I saw that. I sent Benny a text and asked him if he was allowed to do that.
Yes, you said Benny asked him if you could do that?
No, I sent Benny a text and said, is he allowed to do what he's doing today? I said, it's annoying, we've got to shut our windows not to hear the noise. Benny didn't answer me, but the noise has stopped. Benny's got his number. He's not afraid to call him.
Oh, okay. Well, he might have shut the jerk down. Not that it's really a big deal with us, but he shouldn't go around cranking up the neighborhood. I know this guy is not an Israeli, and I don't know if he's Jewish or not. He could be. I don't know. I have no idea. No, he's doing it again. I think he just shut the door to the house. So what's going on? I believe what Trump is doing now is he's collecting target packages. What does that mean? Well, anti-aircraft systems are frequently fixed, like they might have them installed in the ground at facilities that are worth defending to Venezuela, like an airport, his mansion, his government buildings, and stuff like that. Okay? In more recent years, like going back 20 years, 25, even 30, what they do is they put these missile launch systems on a truck. So when you go for your target packages and they're stationary missiles, you know where they're going to be now and next year and all that, right? But when you go for your target packages and you see the missiles on a truck, well, that means nothing. Because they know you're looking at them, and then they just, if you move the truck, a half a mile, they're going to get confused. See, the plane's not going to the plane's not going to be 200 feet overhead looking for the missile launcher and then releasing the bomb. That's not going to happen. The plane's going to be distance away, miles, okay? And he's going to get a lock on the coordinates and fire his missiles. He's not going to have a visual. So if you move it even 300 yards, even 100 yards, 100 yards is dangerous. 300 yards, not very dangerous. But 500 yards is a lot safer. There's not going to be any shrapnel or real impact or anything at 500 yards, you know. The planes would come in and fire missiles at empty space. Okay? So you got to constantly keep updating your target packages, and drones could be doing that. Okay? In addition, you want to give your planes like a dry run, so they could fly in and maybe fly over the coastline of Venezuela or get close without being at risk for a missile takedown, right? Anti-aircraft missile takedown, and you know, get the feel of it, right? And then you need targeting packages that have to be updated constantly, because if they keep moving around their anti-aircraft systems and you fly in, they could damage you. Now that's why they're using F-35s, because F-35s are stealth, and I would think the chances of Venezuela being able to attack a stealth F-35 is probably zero. They could attack it, but it wouldn't be successful. It'd be a joke. All right, so the same would apply to B1s. It would apply to B2s, and it would apply to F-22s. All of these things would be not detectable by Venezuela. What the guy did is he apparently shut the door to the house so the noise wouldn't get out in the street. He's still doing it, but the noise is down by a lot, you know. These are churchianity people, I want you to know. I'm making the noise, okay? So, that's what I think Trump's doing, and could he be doing this to scare Venezuela? Probably not what this is. The warships there and attacking 3 of the cartel boats was enough scare, plus the verbiage from Trump. This is probably an escalation. Now, what Trump will always do, as would Russia or anybody else, is they'll start with air attacks, and since he didn't bring 40 or 50, you know, F-35s, he has some on the aircraft, the landing ships, so there could be as much as another 20 on the landing ships, and he has 10 in Puerto Rico, but what they're going to do is go in, and the F-35s are going to be attacking the radar and the anti-aircraft systems with the missiles. They'll also attack surface-to-surface missiles and the radar. So the radar got to go. That basically takes care of the missile launch systems, but it's a good idea they'll blow them up. 2 for as many as they could find. Artillery, they might bother with. They're also going to collect data on where the troop movements are, where they're building up, where they have a lot of tanks, mobile artillery, mortars, or, you know, just get a general picture of what they're doing, and it goes back to the Pentagon, and the Pentagon sits there and burns the midnight oil and orders pizzas and tries to figure out what they think Venezuela is going to do. Then They might do something to scare Venezuela. I don't know what that would be, attack another ship possibly, or do flyovers or something, and then see what the response is tactically with Venezuela, what they moved and how they moved it, and then start trying to build a pattern of predictability of what Venezuela's up to or doing. Okay? I don't know if this is the day or two before they attack. It could be. Or it could be that, well, he opened the door again. He got tired of keeping the noise down, apparently. So it could be that, I don't know, we gotta watch, but it looks like an attack is coming. This does not look to me like it's Trump positioning to try to scare Venezuela. No, this is not that. Sending the warships around, that was what that was. Not this. So this thing with Trump and the Hamas sending him a letter for a 60-day ceasefire, the idea there was to still keep half the hostages, get a bunch of terrorists released from the prisons in Israel to make them look better, and to keep working the political thing to get Israel to leave them alone and say it's a Palestinian state and they have a right to be there and that sort of thing. And then they want, during that 60 days, they want to rebuild and start the fight again if they can't get things fixed. So Israel may decide, hold on a second, something happened. This is some stupid app I use and I never should use it. I gotta figure out what I did. Give me a minute, guys. I hate this. I gotta get another program. This thing stinks. It's not the computer, it's the stupid program I'm using. It deletes, for some reason it deleted all my notes, but I usually can restore it. I just gotta figure out where the control is for that. such a retarded program. I gotta get rid of it. Doing it as quick as I can. There is some button here, they hide it. And if I hit it, it restores it from the trash, which is where I believe it is. Do anything? All right, let me see. I got my notes there somewhere. Let's see. There's a way to do it somewhere, but I can't remember where. Let me reboot this, maybe I can get a better view of it. Sorry about this. This is what life is like in Apple land. And I knock Apple, but that Samsung device is such a piece of junk too that I can't even do a live stream on it because it blocks the button that says go live and I can't hit it, and I'm just waiting for updates so that it changes. But I've been waiting for like 6 weeks. It's unbelievable how they've deteriorated. All the companies, it's not just one company. So this thing, it just decided to delete my notes for some reason. What does this do? I got my number. I don't. May have deleted all my notes. Piece of junk application from Google. There is some place that tells you you can restore it from the trash, but I can't even, if I could find the trash, I could restore it. Let me see. What a piece of junk, this program. That's an app, not a program. Just a real piece of garbage. This isn't the first time it's done this to me. I've always restored it. But this time, I don't know. The command, I can't find the command to restore the trash. But it's got to be around somewhere. Giving me all kinds of stuff I don't want. Where the heck is the trash? I'll have to give up, I guess. This is eerie, yet I can't find it. Let me see if I can come up with it. Sorry about this. It's a nightmare using these programs, these apps. Tap the menu icon. I can't find that. To open, yeah, but I can't. How do you get the menu icon? That's the problem. See, Apple, all the Apple apps and stuff are crap usually. That's the problem. It's a small market and they don't really get too involved, but I found Android to be crap too. And if you get Windows, you get all kinds of problems with viruses and stuff because they refuse to make that any good. And then you got to buy all kinds of firewalls, and you got to buy antivirus programs and update them every other day, and it tells you how to recover here, but it's probably not going to tell you for an Apple. It should be back up here too. Well, you go to the Google site, it's a waste of time. They just keep posting the questions. Oh, brother, what junk. It makes the whole world is messed up now. tells you go, hit your menu and go to trash and retrieve it. But there is no menu with trash on it. Yeah, I get this all the time. Yeah, it tells me go in there, hit the menu, and then I should get trash. So I hit the menu, and I see nothing. Oh, I do see it now. Wait, now I'm seeing different things. Okay. That's not bringing it up, but now I see the trash. Okay. But I'm not in the app. What was I in? I'm in Chrome. What's going on here? Here it is. Tells me to empty trash. Why doesn't it tell me to restore it? Idiots. I tell you, this is so unintuitive today. Let's see. If it didn't go in the trash, I don't know where it is. I'm in trouble now. I'm dead, I think. I don't know what it did with him. It's just crazy. I had a lot of Bible notes in there and other things. It's horrible. This is sick. It's so pathetic. Well, I'll have to do this another time. I don't know if I'll ever get it back. All right, so that's what's going on. Trump doesn't look like he's going to war with Venezuela. Please pray I get the this app restore my notes back again. Please pray for that. All right. So let's give it to Monaco again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my heavenly Father Jehovah, I bind any unclean spirit from being able to enter the country of Monaco. No, for 1 year continuously, beginning now, no unclean spirit can enter Monaco. So if they're in any living thing or any person, and that person goes into Monaco, they must immediately, instantly depart from that person as soon as they enter Monaco. No delay. And they must depart now from any person or living thing in Monaco. And they cannot go in or be in anyone in Monaco for 1 year continuously, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I further command you unclean spirits to not appear to anybody in Monaco, not guide them, lead them, direct them, help them, assist them, help them with their enemies, help them with their competitors, or do anything for them in Monaco. And you shall not surveillance Monaco or be anywhere near Monaco where people could see you if you want them to see you. That cannot be the case. This is all done for 1 year continuously, beginning now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay. Let me go take a break for a minute, and then we'll proceed with more. All right, I remember what I was going to tell you guys that was on my notes. It was the last bit was this. The one country that's really sticking with Israel is America. There was America plus, I think, 9 or 8 countries that didn't want to see the Palestinian state. And these are small countries that support Israel with lip service, but that's about it. And they're so small they can't really do anything else either. So they can't help Israel. They don't sit on the UN Security Council or anything like that. All right? So the only country left that's really helping Israel is America. And that's going to come to an end. So the Lord's getting ready to deliver Israel. But that deliverance isn't going to come until America's not helping Israel. Now, they're going to turn against Israel. And when the world sees America is not helping Israel, then God can deliver Israel and get into restoring Israel and building it up and redemption. Because it has to look like it's God doing it, not Trump. Okay? Or God won't do it. And Trump has to stop being his self-perceived king of the world. He's not the head of all the nations. He thinks he is. He's trying to be. The nations don't accept him. You know, it's nonsense, but Trump is still doing it. And he's going to come to his end. America is. Okay? And when that happens, the angels rejoice. I've never seen anybody ever come up with anything resembling a viable explanation why America does not fit Jeremiah 50, 51, and Isaiah 47. I've been looking at this for 12 years, probably a little more than 12 years, a good 12 years, studying America as the daughter of Babylon. And the first, I think, people really came up with it was around 2008. Now, I don't know, somebody in 1975 could have figured it out. I don't know. I really don't know. But I doubt it. I haven't really seen it come forward. From what my trace backs on it were around 2008 people. I mean, roughly in that, maybe 2005, 4, you know. In the 1990s, nobody was running around saying America's the daughter of Babylon that I ever came across anyway, and I probably would have back then, because I was active on the internet with posting demon tossing and, the church ain't the church and stuff like that. See, the way the Satan bots operate is they don't care if you know things. As long as they see they're able to communicate with their demons, their people are running the countries, the businesses, and the false religions, they relax. So they are like the days of Noah, the days of Sodom. They're going to be, giving in marriage, buying and selling and building and constructing right until their destruction. Okay? The day of vengeance is what it's called. Not the great day of the Lord, that's different. Day of vengeance. They never talk about any of this in the church. Of course, you see, what they believe, the false believers, the Satanists, that if the people that read the Bible, if they start believing something, it's going to come to pass, you see. It's a ridiculous doctrine. I don't know where Satan got that from. So that's what he does. And he's an idiot. Satan is a grandiose idiot and always been an idiot. And, well, not always, but, definitely since he went astray. So, he's been the head of all the nations during this age. But this age is closing, so he's closing out. And he has, he thinks by being the head of all the nations, the Lord's not going to be able to shut this down. Well, he's crazy. The Lord destroys all the nations he scattered the Israelites into. That's what happens. So it goes against him. He doesn't win, he loses. He never wins. And that's what's going to happen. And you're seeing it now. Okay? And the daughter of Babylon is in very close timing proximity to the next Exodus, because once you hit redemption, the people are out. From studying the next Exodus, it appears the people hit redemption and then leave. And they go to the wilderness and they enter into the bond of the covenant and pass under the rod, and then they come to Israel. Now, we know that the recompense period from when the Lord first told me we're in recompenses, which was October 2023, I think the 10th, and August, so it's over 2 years, basically. So the redemption is likely going to be, or possibly be a similar time frame. To interpret the word Shanat as year, I think, is error. And that's where I went astray there, because I was reading the translations for the word Shanat, and then after I realized things weren't falling into place, I studied it more deeply, and it's more like an estimated period of time. It's nothing with the precision of 1 year or anything like that. So it's a very unusual word, and it could be interpreted different ways. I wouldn't even translate that as year. I'd have to come up with a different translation. The word for year in Hebrew is Shana, and Shanim is the plural. Shanat is not the plural. It doesn't mean years. As far as I could tell, I've never seen any translator translate it as years, plural. I never saw that. See, it's very difficult because the people that did the translations don't really know Hebrew. And the rabbis don't talk. Now, it's possible you could contact the rabbis, like go down to the Wailing Wall if I was in better shape physically and talk to them. You know, I would put a kippah on and maybe wear tzitzit or something and go talk to them and say, hey, would you help me with a word in Hebrew? And they'll say, what word? And I would tell them. And they might know what it means. They might not. And it depends who you go to, you know. Chances are they know I'm Jewish. They look at me and they can tell I'm what they call, you know, you could spot me at 100 feet, you know. So they might go to me and, you know, they might ask me why or what scripture. I would tell them, you know, Isaiah 34:8. And they would probably start telling me, oh, we don't know what what recompenses means or when, you know, and this and that, you know. So, but they probably would tell me the meaning as they understand it. Now, I am also, by saying this, making an assumption that they understand it correctly, and I don't know that to be the case. I've gone back to people, you know, going back hundreds and hundreds of years. You could go back to Tyndale and Wycliffe and other commentators, and you know, they don't have it. So, and these people used to read the rabbinical work. A lot of them did understand Hebrew to some extent, actually, and they did read the Hebrew works, and I don't know. I don't, you know, I got an idea. Let me do a quick search here. My other programs and stuff are all intact, and I imagine that I can pull this down from backup or something. It might be on other devices. I can get it. I don't know. I don't think it is, but maybe. Where am I? Here. I'm going to see if artificial intelligence could search the Talmud. No, it says the Talmud doesn't mention Isaiah 34:8. You see, they say that Moses' law, the real Moses' law, was a verbal law, not the written law. The written law was to confuse the heathen. Well, that's not true, but they say that. But they don't knock the written prophets because that was not Moses. So the prophets, they do differently. They still believe the prophets, but they tell the people that you can't understand the prophets. You have to have a special anointing or something. Something like that. Okay, let me try something else here. I asked it how the Talmud interprets the word shanat. Let's see if we get anything on that. I put it in Hebrew. I'm reading the discourse I got from artificial intelligence. It's giving me a whole lot of stuff about how it thinks the Talmud uses this word shanat. Uh, well, I think it's telling me that the Talmud is using it to mean a year, like a calendar year. So that got fooled by it as well as me. It could be. Let me keep reading. No, now it says, let me read it to you. It's interesting. The Avodah Zarah, blah, blah, blah. The Talmud is not a godly book. Let's get that down, okay? The Talmud outlines a 6,000 year world history. Well, yeah, and then you have millennium, okay, which I don't think they understand, but I forgot. Maybe they do. I don't know. And then they say it's marked divisions like 2,000 years of chaos, 2,000 years of Torah, and 2,000 years of Messianic era. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That's wrong. Here, Shanat is a temporal marker for cosmic periods, not a single year. Oh, they do get it. They do get the concept. Okay. Okay, a cosmic period. Well, that's no biblical term. But they're saying the Shanat means a period. Ah, it's interesting. Not a single year. Okay, it says Shanat is a temporal marker for cosmic periods, not a single year. Okay. When discussing prophecies like Isaiah, blah, 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 the Sanhedrin, or blah, 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 related, they treat Shanat as part of a metaphysical or future-oriented year of divine intervention, not a literal date. They had it. Okay, so the rabbis know the same thing I'm telling you. It's not a literal date. It's not a calendar year. The Talmud occasionally explores the grammatical form of Shanat versus the Shana, the regular, meaning for year. For instance, in Bava Metzia something 106b, that's a Talmud reference. Discussions. The Talmud is not a godly book, and you shouldn't be messing with it. I'm not messing with it. I'm trying to think how they interpret this word. Discussions, I'm not trying to get doctrine out of it. That'd be suicide. Discussions of contracts or agricultural year might analyze Shanat to determine which year is referenced. Then it says, like, for instance, the year of a specific event or cycle. So again, it's referring to an event or a cycle. In some cases, Shanat is contrasted with related terms like season or month to clarify temporal precision. Okay, so the season or the month gives it a precision, not the Shanat word. Shanat word is not giving you precision. If you're asking about Shanat, in Isaiah 34:8, it's not segregated out for interpretation. The emphasis is on the theological implication of recompense, divine justice, payback, reward, rather than a linguistic analysis of Shanat. The term is understood as a temporal marker for a divine ordained period. That's it. That's exactly what it is. Possibly linked to messianic redemption or judgment against Israel's enemies, discussed in the Sanhedrin and Midrash. Okay. No, that's it. Yep, it's its own word. It's not anything we really have in English. There is no word like this in English. We don't have anything like this. It would mean it's an era or some time period associated to an event that God has ordained. So redemption, if I remember correctly, and I think I do, is the Shanat. So the redemption period could be a long one, which is where what happens in redemption? Well, similar to a jubilee, everybody gets their property back, and you get reunited with your family. So during redemption, we're going to have to get the land back, all the land, and we will be fighting, but we'll be very victorious. And then we got to do the rebuilding, and then the dry bones come back, and the people stop in the wilderness to enter the bond of the covenant and pass under the rod. And that's found in Ezekiel 20, beginning in verse 33. Then they come to Israel. So this is going to take some time. And I have a feeling it doesn't necessarily have to be 12 months. I think it will be a greater period of time. And I don't know what period of time that's going to be exactly, but we'll have to see, you know. We'll have to see what happens. We're not going to know the exact time, is what it is. So what can we tell? Well, we know. See, let me tell you what we can know, okay? For that, we go to Jeremiah 50. Let me get there the easy way if I can. My bad eyes. I gotta try to find the back button here. Let's see. Did I get it? I did. Like verse 3, 4. Okay, let's start. We'll just go to Jeremiah 50, verse 3. Okay. For out of the north, now when that says north, it could mean north of Israel. It could also mean north of America. You got to really discern it. There cometh up a nation, a heathen nation, a goyim, against her, against daughter of Babylon, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall all remove. They shall depart, both man and beast. So it says, doesn't say they shall all move, it says they shall remove. So some people are going to get out. It also says others are going to get killed. In those days and in that time, saith Jehovah, the children of Israel shall come. Okay, in those days and at that time. So the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah. So the Judah are, and it's waking up Israel, because not all Judah's really awake. They don't know who they are, I expect. But maybe I'm wrong, I don't think so. But the 10 tribes don't know who they are. So they're going to come together where? To Israel, stopping in the wilderness, going and weeping. Why would they be weeping except they know that Yeshua's their Messiah and they had salvation? You know, when you get saved right away, you cry a lot, right? So some people do, a lot of people do. And the children of Judah together going and weeping, they shall go and seek Jehovah Elohim. Why would they do that if they didn't have redemption already? See what I'm saying? Well, maybe he poured the Spirit out on them, but they didn't yet see Yeshua. No, I think they saw him. They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, Come and let us join ourselves to Jehovah in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten. You see, now it also tells us when they come to Israel, they tell us what the Lord did in America. So it's already past tense. See what I'm saying? My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go away. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. That's Israel. They forget. They're living around the world and they like staying there. Try to get some Jews to leave America and see if they will. I ain't going to Israel. You know, I had some people in the family tell me they went to Israel, or they went here maybe in the 70s or something. Like they came here and they told me when they got back to America, they were kissing the ground. Not literally, but all that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, "We offend not, because they have sinned against the Lord, the habitation of justice, even the Lord, the hope of their fathers." You see, that's why Netanyahu and the bad leaders, the Satan-bought leaders, keep Israel in sin with those obnoxious parades, abomination parades, all the sins. Government working on Saturday, running the buses on Saturday. You know, it just, there's they're anti-messianic practices. It's just, the sins are so profound and widespread. Who their leader is, the transactional leaders, it's so deep, their sins, okay, that's because what they think that they could keep punishing Israel and nothing will happen to them, because they sinned against the Lord, the habitation of justice. So they think if they keep the people here in sin, they could keep running them. You know, there's two yokes on Israel: the yoke of the nations and the yoke of their own government. You know, remove out of the midst of Babel, go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he goats before the flocks. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. Now, the north country is probably someplace north of Israel. Let's check the word for country. From out of, you see, they're trying to make you think it's a particular country. From out of the north. So anything north of Israel would be included. Against her from thence shall she be taken. See, the people are going to get out. The believers in Yeshua, the real believers, not the ones that say they go to church and that's their claim to salvation. The real believers and all the Israelites. And they're going to go. Okay? And there's going to be, some of them are going to get eliminated in the wilderness. I don't know how long they're going to be in the wilderness. If you wanted me to guess, 40 years? No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I would think maybe more like 40 days. Something like that, maybe a week. I don't know. How do you enter into the bond of the covenant? See if I can find anything on that. trying to look at other verses. What is the bond of the covenant? What's the meaning? The covenant word is brit, which is really what we use for covenant. The translation for that word is pretty good. The word for bond or binding seems to be translated pretty good too. I'm not seeing translation misalignments or errors or curveballs here or anything. The passing under the rod is separating the sheep from the goats and the wolves and sheep clothing and stuff like that. Getting rid of the rebellious and the ones that won't submit. In other words, passing under the rod means you got to be the real sheep. And then you enter into the sheep gate, or Yeshua is the sheep gate. The sheep pen is Israel. And you get in through Yeshua. Everything really, not everything, but so very much revolves around Yeshua. There's God the Father. We can't discount that, of course. So you've got to be careful about that. See, the circumcision is considered the bond or the sign of the covenant. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me, you, and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token or a sign of the covenant between me and you. That's Genesis 17, verses 10 and 11. See, the word token in English means sign. It can mean a mark, a symbol. A sign is pretty good. The covenant word is breed. See, the ones that are born in your house or the ones that were bought by money, a slave or something, also has to be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. See, everlasting life, everlasting covenant, getting a fit, you know. This I'm reading you from Genesis 17, 13, and 14. So being for an everlasting covenant, and the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. Enter into the bond of the covenant, and if he's not circumcised, he has broken the covenant. Now, do women get circumcised? No, they don't. No, there's nothing like that for women. The Muslims do something like that, but it's nonsense. We'd never do that. Exodus 12:48, and when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Pesach, the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it, and he shall be as one that is born in the land. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. See, they do things in the church world, the people that want to rub Jewishness on themselves, and the Messianic congregation world. you see, you have a second Passover. You have where you could do it the month later because of the traveling. You don't hold the Passover outside of Israel, and you shouldn't do it if you're uncircumcised. But they do it anyway, see. And then they tell me, don't you tell us not to do it and take that away from us. See, I've had people tell me that years ago, but I had it happen. See, that's because they're going to cling to their rubbing Jewishness all over themselves as a way of getting holiness artificially. They're doing what the Jews did that got them in trouble. They're making an outward show. They're observing the ritual type things of the law, but ignoring the heavier things of the law. You've got to have both. You can't have one without the other. After entering the promised land, the Israelites who were born in the wilderness became circumcised. This is in Joshua 5, verses 2 to 7. But they did it when they came into the land. It reads, at that time, Jehovah said unto Joshua, make thee sharp knives and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time. Joshua 5:2. This act reaffirms the covenant status before they take possession of the land. So you see what I'm developing here? When they go into the wilderness and they enter into, or they pass under the rod, that's going to get rid of the liars, the adulterers, the thieves, the ones calling on the unclean spirits, and crap like that, right? And the other people are going to enter into the bond of the covenant. The men are going to be circumcised, and then they're going to come into the land. So I'm thinking more like 40 days, not 40 years. There's a healing period. Now, can God set this up so it really doesn't hurt us that much? Well, I'm already circumcised, but does it, I got mine on the 8th day, but, when I was an infant, but the others, I don't know. I don't know what's going to go on with that, but it looks like to me that's going to be happening. So when they're in the wilderness, they come back into submission. Now, do the people in Israel have to leave and go to the wilderness? There is no such scripture. No, that's an absurd doctrine. It is not the case. There's no reason whatsoever to think that that happens. People that are here in Israel have been through enough. And the 2/3 get cut off, so he takes care of it here. He gets rid of the bad ones. So they're, so to speak, passing under the rod and failing, and 2/3 get cut off. So he takes care of it here too, like in the wilderness. So he's fair to everybody, you might say, right? Okay? I would say that. And someone's going to say, oh no, you got to circumcise the foreskins of the heart, like Jeremiah 4, verse 4. You got to do that too, but it doesn't take the place. See, now you're getting into churchianity. Oh no, everything is spiritual, there's no physical. That's incorrect. He that is, Romans 2, 28 and 29, he that is a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward of the flesh, but he is a Jew which is one inward. Circumcision is that of the heart and the spirit. Oh, listen to me yelling, and not in the letter. Does that mean you don't do the circumcision in the flesh? No. Because the law is not done away with, that's why. And it's in the law. So you really need the circumcision of the flesh and of the spirit, which is your heart would be circumcised and that type of thing. Okay? So that, it could be a deterrent for some people because they're more in the flesh. And some of the people that like to insult me and call me a liar and a charlatan and a thief, they may not be circumcised. Let's see how they respond, Generally speaking, guys, when the ones come around and call me a charlatan and a thief and try to point out some scripture they don't like or something like that, they could be regular people, but generally they're a Satan bot, okay? And they just want to blow this up out of proportion because, you see, the way the Satan bots work is they want you to believe their lies. And if you don't believe their lies, they go nuts and turn into hate against you. This has been my 40-something years of experience, okay? So they want you to believe their lies, and their lies are false doctrines, and they want you to cling to bad doctrine because that's sin. Bad doctrine is sin. Sin means you're giving place to the devil and they could attack you and get at you. That's what they believe and think and operate. So they don't want you to have true doctrine. That wicked old guy that was a big shot with the A-millennial doctrine when I was a very new believer, like a year or two after I was a believer, or something, maybe it was probably 2.5 years, I had one of the big doctrines in anti-Semitic, anti-Israel A-millennialism, which is the Lutherans, Presbyterians, the Catholics are amillennial, It's an anti-Semitic thing, okay? I'm telling you, an anti-Jew doctrine, okay? Lutherans really are resentful. I mean, Luther was horrible towards the Jews, what he said. I mean, he was like a Hitler that went to church. Well, Hitler was a Methodist, and they're a millennial, I believe, as well. Episcopalian, Presbyterians, a lot of them, Church of Christ, a lot of them. Some of the AG churches used to be, I think, I don't know how many anymore. So they love that a millennial doctrine. Adam Clark was the guy that built that up. I think the 1700s or something. Or it was an old doctrine, you know. And what it basically says, I mean, it's rather detailed, but what it's basically saying is the law is dead. Everything is spiritual, not in the flesh. There's nothing in the flesh. Okay? There's no flesh requirements for anything anymore. It's all spiritual. And there is no more temple. There is no Israel, the head of the nations. None of that. There is no New Jerusalem on earth. Nothing. All we're waiting for is for Yeshua to come down and take us up. The 1,000 years of Yeshua reigning is over. Okay? When it's over, he comes down and takes us up. And he's reigning now because he's enthroned up in heaven. It's just some crackpot doctrines that, you know, surprisingly, I think you'd probably find perhaps 1/3 or half, I think about half of churchianity believes in a-millennialism. Yeah. That's right. They're the ones that don't really see any reason for Jerusalem or for Israel to have Jerusalem. The Catholics are one big group like that. Yeah, it's pretty sad. So Yeshua's going to come back anytime. And, you know, so they're almost like a Schofield. They hate Schofield, though. So, you know, one of the big teachings is that none of God's covenants are unconditional. And they break things down, like they say there's a Noahic covenant. What would that be? Well, he puts his rainbow in the sky to show that he's never going to bring the rain again. Then there's a Davidic covenant, and there's 7 of them they created. That it's not a correct thing, I don't believe, but they create, and they say they're all conditional. But you see, the Noahic covenant is not conditional. It's to the animals and it's to the people, and he's never going to destroy the earth with the rain again. Rain in the flood. The people can do whatever they want, and the animals can do whatever they want, and he's still not going to destroy the earth with the rain and a flood again. And that is an unconditional covenant. And I told that to this wicked old guy, and he went nuts against me after that. He became my enemy because I defeated he was writing books on this. He was doing a study Bible, which ultimately he finished. He was doing all this stuff. Okay. Based on this a-millennialism, and their biggest doctrine is God doesn't make any unconditional covenants, but he does, the Noahic covenant. So it's a false teaching. The whole thing falls apart, and I found it. He didn't teach it to me. I didn't read it in a book. Who showed it to me? The Lord, perhaps through the Holy Spirit. And I went and told him about it, and the reaction I got, I mean, he was finished with me, because I was able to see through him, and he knew there was something with me. There was something going on with the Lord and me. He knew that much. So he was trying to take pleasure in bagging me for Satan, unknowingly by becoming an amillennialist, and he was grooming me to run around the world as a Jew, as a Cohen, and teach that God's never going to restore Israel, there's never going to be a temple, there's not going to be a New Jerusalem, and Jerusalem, blah, 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 blah. It's all spiritual, don't get stuck on that. And that was what he wanted me to do as a Jew with an anointing from the Lord, run around the world and teach this falsehood. And he knew all the different pastors that would invite me and they would take offerings up for me and all this nonsense, you know. And I would be a missionary traveling around the world teaching this crap, which is what he did. So he spent a lot of time teaching me this, but to teach me this, he also had to teach me why the pre-trib, mid-trib, and post-trib raptures are false. And he did a good job teaching me that. I know more than he did now, but he did a good job teaching me that. You know, like in Matthew 13, first the wicked get taken out. And they don't teach that. They teach first the righteous get taken out, see. They're completely backwards, you know. So he taught me how to set aside Schofield and the other. But see, the pre-trib is way more dominant than mid-trib and post-trib rapture people. They're all wrong. And the amillennial is extremely dominant. And you basically are grooming do-nothing couch potato Christians that go into amillennial. And because it's pointless to do anything, you just sit there and, you know the name of Yeshua and, that's it. You don't do the law. Well, without the law, there's no sin. So that's a little weird. But you go to church, you give your offerings to church, you sing your songs, you tell people about Jesus, not Yeshua, and you just wait for Yeshua to come back and take you up to earth, and to heaven, and that's what it does, and that's most likely half of churchianity. Let's see if I can get a list of what churches follow amillennialism. Let's see if AI can produce that. That's the kind of thing they could probably get. Let's see. Yeah, they also believe that the current church age is the millennium, by the way. So yes, the Roman Catholic Church is, you could say, amillennial. Plus the Catholic Church, pretty much, the Catholics in general, Eastern Orthodox Church, the mainline Protestant churches, the Lutherans, Presbyterians, United Methodist Church, Episcopal Church. Oh, okay, United Church of Christ. I was calling it Church of Christ. Reformed Baptist churches. You listening to this? Mennonite and Anabaptist traditional. I guess they do it too. The ones that are most likely not to go for amillennialism is the evangelical and the Pentecostals. Southern Baptists don't go for it. Assemblies of God don't go for it. Adventist Church, Seventh-day Adventist, they're usually pre-millennial. Some of the non-denominational independent churches, most of those, if not all, will not go for it. Now, with the Presbyterians and others here and there, you're going to find churches that don't go for amillennialism, that are still playing with that denomination. Unless the denomination bears down and kicks them out, that could go on. So you could have some deviations within your denominations. That's the deal, you know. So, you know, most people are not aware of how big amillennialism is. They really don't understand it because, you know, you're not really going. I'm wondering if I'm on the air. I'm on the air. Yeah, I am. A lot of people don't get it because they don't have much contact with this. They don't go and get involved with these churches. These are what you call a lot of times nominal churches, and they get off into this. The communion is, you know, they make way more out of it than it is, and you know, they get into apostasy with communion, and you know, they're just really whack jobs, you know. So, you know, you need to be aware of how big this is and how much it's taken over people that like to think of them as believers, and how really apostate this doctrine is. But above and beyond everything else, it's anti-Jew, anti-Israel. Hugely so, from a biblical, twisted, perverted perspective. And that's half of the church world. That's right. And the other half of the church world is in great acceptance of them, even though their doctrine is Jew-hating and Israel-hating and apostasy like crazy. They still fellowship with them and treat them as believers, which is error. And by doing that, you're helping them. You're applying grease for them to get on the sliding pond into the lake of fire. You're greasing it up for them so they can get into the lake of fire, real nice and slick and fast by not pointing out the errors to them. But that's above and beyond the perspective of most of these people. They're not believers. The church world is predominantly not believers. To come out from among them, but we've come out. Why didn't they come out? You know. Okay, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for all the true believers to have removed from them all the problems and difficulties that Satan and the people Satan have placed on them. I pray they have better finances and abundance in their finances. I pray for good health for them. I pray that they don't have communications with the unclean spirits, thinking that the unclean spirit is the Holy Spirit or God or Yeshua. I pray you bind the unclean spirits from doing any of this. And I pray that they have your peace and your joy and your calm and your rest and the gifts of the Spirit. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I pray that I can restore that application and get my notes back. And I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers in their households to have your peace, your joy, your calm, your rest, and be free of having to deal with problems from the jerks that serve the unclean spirits and the unclean spirits. And they can further devote their time and energy to spreading the true gospel, not fighting the idiot demons and those losers and the people that serve them. And I pray for better Bible work on the broadcasts and better broadcasts. And pray for my offerings to pick up. And I submit all this binding and prayer to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with this if you like. And that's what I got for today, guys. I hope you got something out of it. So remember, when God delivers Israel, it's going to have to look like God delivers Israel, i.e., he's going to use the two witnesses with miracles and signs and fire coming out of their mouth, which might be lightning, and same word. And, everything's going to look like God did it. It's not going to ever look like Trump did it or Netanyahu did it or anything like that. And the Israelites are very dependent on their military right now and Trump and all of this stuff. And again, remember, when you start wars, even with little old Venezuela, you never know what's going to happen. You never know. Especially when we're in end times. So America is going to get it, and y'all are going to come out. And if you're a real believer or you're in Israel, you're going to come to Israel, stopping in the wilderness. And life's going to be great. And you just got to wait. And it's real close. We're looking at America, and it's real close. You got ruler fighting ruler, or ruler against ruler, because it's I'm interpreting that. I believe the Lord showed me this. The judges, see, the democracy in America, you got three rulers in a way. You've got the Congress that can pass laws, right? That's legislative. You have the executive, which is Trump, and he can pass executive orders, right? And then you got the Supreme Court or the courts, and they could write decisions saying things are against the law. So you've got three levels of rulers, right? Now, in addition to that, you've got mayors and governors, right? Sure, they can make laws and things like that too, but they can't influence anybody outside of the borders of the city or the state. You can't pass a law in a city and make the whole state obey it, just the city. Okay. And a state can't pass a law for the whole country, just for that state. This thing that I had that cut's got a lot better. And I stopped using the red light on it. I didn't even use it yesterday. It's still getting better. It's just the cut got to heal, so it's a little sore and a little bit swollen where the cut is, but it's going to heal up. And my wife seems to think too, you got that little bucket with the silverware in there, and I was the dumb one that probably put a knife in point up. Those cold steel knives, we've got a very sharp steak knives, and I went to put something in, and I seem to remember something like this. I just felt that it didn't draw blood or anything, but it was enough to cause the problem. So I don't remember it drawing blood. Maybe I washed it. I don't know. I didn't pay a lot of notice to it, and it came on. I might use the red light again today and just push it over the line, you know. But it's really hard to notice it unless I actually push right on the spot, and then it hurts a little, but not much at all. And when you have a cut and it's not entirely healed, and you press on it, it's going to hurt. So remember that. That's what's going to happen. And right now, we've still got Netanyahu and Trump running around. So apparently, we got a little bit of time. And I hope you enjoyed that discourse on the Shanad. It makes me feel a lot better, because that was a real snare to me. Because it was just something that the literature didn't really explain, and I don't do the Talmud. So if I was a Talmud reader, I probably would have figured it out. But now we know what they know, and they know what is going on. The Talmud will interpret the prophetic books, okay? See, the Moses Law is one thing, okay? That would be all contained in the first 5 books of the Bible, what Moses did. But actually, well, we can say that. That's it. And then when you go further into the books, it's no longer Moses. And you get into the prophets. There's a lot of prophecy. And they don't ever discard the prophecies. They don't say the prophecies written there are for the heathen and not the real ones. No. But they interpret the prophecies. They have books with the Old Testament, and you've got the text. It's like a Schofield Bible. You got a text, and then you got notes, and you look at the bottom of the text, and they show you what this Rabbi Rashi said, what Rambam said, what Shmagegi said, and you go through it, and you get, and they're always, not always, but much of the time, they have different opinions, and it causes confusion. And that's how they teach them the prophets, and they tell them that they're not qualified to study the prophets and understand it, and don't try to do it. So they're telling them to just rely on the old famous rabbis like Ramban and Rashi, and this, I guess there's maybe about a half a dozen of them that are really considered hot dogs, in their history. They probably got many more than that, but there's about 5 or 6 they consider very, very strongly, and Rambam and Rashi are really 2 of them. So they do deal in the Talmud, they do deal with the prophets, and that's where this comes up. In other words, the Talmud they're using the Talmud to tell the people what the prophecies mean. Of course, they're steering them away from the truth, obviously. If they weren't steering them away from the truth, they would just let the prophecies stand for themselves, right? They don't know how to correctly interpret the prophecies. They're not the elect. They don't know. That could change at redemption, but they don't know. And we're also waiting for Elijah to be training the Levites, and I still think that is what's going to bring on redemption. I think, because it's going to get the blessings of the law. That's what I think. Why didn't the Lord have us meet in Messianic congregations 30, 40 years ago? Real ones, not, because we had real ones. I remember I started one, and but it was under somebody's umbrella, so it wasn't real. But I started out starting to create my own before that, and um, oh, I was getting a lot of false believers trying to penetrate me and stuff like that. I had already lived in Israel a few years, and I knew a lot about the church and the falsehood. So I couldn't do it. I didn't see it feasible. You know, I had some people that wanted to do the music, but I had no place to do the music. And then I was getting phone calls, you know, this is Pastor Margaret with blah, blah, blah church. I'm so happy to see you doing this. And, you know, stuff like that. And then it was getting public. And then the next thing I knew, Jews for Jesus was coming to open up a congregation where I was. See, they were gonna use a big budget to shut me down. Then when I stopped doing it, they stopped doing it. To me, it's very much like Monaco voting for a Palestinian state. What we did to them would be like, imagine that you couldn't have the Holy Spirit in you or communicate with God if you lived in a certain country, and that was the country you live in. But you see, that's because they don't have a God. They got a phony God for a God. They don't know the difference. So they chase Satan and the demons as gods. Morons, you know. You know, to them, this world is the greatest place. It's not. It's junk. You know, listen to me hard. If you look around you, everywhere you look, there's decay in the world, and everything in the world is dying and decaying away. Everything. And that never really changes. In New Jerusalem, there's no death and no decay when New Jerusalem comes here. But we're still surrounded by junk, but not in New Jerusalem. You understand? So it's not going to be the same thing as being up in heaven with Father God Jehovah, where there will be no more earth and universe down here. And everything is just going to be really nice and joyful. Okay? All the time. So everything here stinks, but the Satan servants love it. They think this is the greatest place. You know, and they extend their lives. You know, many of them are living to be 95, 100 years old now. So they got ways of extending their lives. I don't know exactly what they're doing. Hormones, HGH, or who knows what, right? Blood transfusions of some crazy sort I'm completely unfamiliar with and may not even exist. I don't know. But they're definitely extending their lives. But nothing like the way our lives are going to be extended. And they live as old people, old men, you know, they're in wheelchairs, they can't walk, they got a lot of problems. They're spending a lot of time with doctors, they're taking all kinds of medicines, you know, they're not. But they drag it out and they live a long time that way. Great. What a great life it is, you know. So. Nobody really ever attacks the amillennial doctrine. They just attack the Schofield stuff. You know, they don't pay attention to how big amillennialism is because it's anti-Semitic, and it might, you know, in the eyes of Satan, it may be something he was trying to do, bring it back, you know, to turn people against Israel, but never got legs. That never took over the Pentecostal and evangelical. They're the only ones that are really not, for the most part, not into amillennial. Everything else, including the Catholics, is amillennial. I think the Russian Orthodox, the Greek Orthodox, and all of them I think, are amillennial. It's unusual for it not to be amillennial. It's usually then evangelical or Pentecostal, and they go for Schofield, the preacher of rapture. So Satan gets them all around. So there's very, very few. Straight and narrow is the way, and few be that find it. Very, very few. It's a puny amount. Puny amount. Okay, guys, I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and keep praying I restore my notes. I'm dreading how hard that'll be to get it. I don't know yet, but I'm out. Thanks, guys.